the muscles manage a protein called creatine, and it's processed into creatinine, and then creatinine is freely filtered by the kidneys, and then it's partially reabsorbed. And there's another serum protease inhibitor called cystatin C. Those are only our two FDA-approved renal kind of filtration markers. But I had made the observation over and over again, if you have a normal serum creatinine, normal kidney function, you could almost survive the biggest heart attack in the world and survive.
So that's this creatine that you're talking about. It's the same creatine that a lot of these bodybuilders and people that work out take prior to working out or after they work out.
Right. So creatine is a precursor to creatinine. Creatinine is what's filtered in the blood. And creatine is a bodybuilding substance. And by the way, it's also a nootropic, meaning it actually helps brain function. However, it's a load for the kidneys. And years ago, there was a giant problem with the supply chain in creatine, and it was contaminated, and it caused a terrible fatal syndrome called eosinophilia myalgia syndrome.
Well, creatine is becoming more and more mainstream now because of the brain fog and everything else that they're promoting. Yeah.
Because there were gentlemen that I knew that were heavy lifters, and they were taking the creatines, the proteins, and all this stuff, and they would walk around with jugs of water. And I would ask him, I was like, what's with the jugs of water? And he would say, well, I'm on creatine. I got to make sure I drink a lot of water or else I'm going to get a kidney stone. And I was like, really? He goes, yeah, because my body's producing more than what's needed because I'm supplying it with more creatine. So there's a likelihood I might get a kidney stone. I was just like, I can't believe you're doing this to yourself.
Have you ever seen, I'm 62. Have you ever seen a man you're pretty sure in their 50s or 60s and they're completely ripped?
Yes.
You take their shirt off. I mean, ripped. We're talking 6-pack, 8-pack, perfectly delineated pecs, biceps that are perfect, veins bulging.
Absolutely.
You ever seen somebody like that?
Totally natural, right, doctor?
Well, I'll tell you, I examine tens of thousands of patients and I have them take their shirt off. In fact, I examine everything. I'm a very thorough doctor. And when I have a man like that, I just ask him, well, how much testosterone are you on? Someone my age could lift weights morning, noon, and night, do push-ups and sit-ups, and never look like that.
Is it just TRT or is it also HGH?
Well, it can be
both, right?
Well, it can be human growth hormone, testosterone. The point is, it's assisted. It's assisted. It's just what it is. I mean, people are doing things to maintain that. Now, the interesting thing is about testosterone, you'll see a lot of these guys and they're just pumped and jacked and you can just see the veins bulging. The real disappointment is when you get to the urogenital exam. Because if you're giving testosterone, you're shutting off hormones produced by the pituitary, the luteinizing hormone and FSH. And when you're shutting those off, there's no stimulation to the testes.
Yeah,
so they shrink.
They shrink.
It's true. So the stories behind it, as far as the people on the steroids, the testosterone, have a lower libido.
Well, yeah, and you always tell the girls. I said, listen, you may think that body's great, but you get between the sheets, you're going to be a little disappointed.
and the worst part of all this is they got to take the magic blue pill in order to perform, which causes heart issues as well.
It can, although that whole Viagra situation, it was amazing. Viagra, the blue pill, it was originally developed as an anti-anginal pill to actually reduce chest pain with ischemic coronary heart disease. And I'll never forget, Pfizer had that pill. And when they were developing it for angina, it's one of the few clinical trials. At the end, they said, okay, the study's over with, just return your bottles to us. The guys are like, no, we don't want to return the bottles, and
it has a side effect we like.
Yeah, the side effect is too good to pass up, And not only was the blue pill, but it also it's called a phosphodiesterase active drug, and there's a series of these enzymes, but there's a cross reactivity with a phosphodiesterase enzyme in the eye, in the retina. So it actually did cause a blue vision. That was a side effect. Viagra is kind of a little bit less specific of a drug than the others in the field right now. But because of it, not only was a blue pill, it caused vision to turn blue. And so the men would associate having better sexual function, but with kind of a blue haze. If you ever notice their commercials, they actually put a little blue tint on the commercials. And there was always a little blue there. And there was always a woman who was kind of expecting to be pleased by her man. And she's got this flowing dress. And it was never really a particularly young woman, if you notice. Their advertising was quite good, but there was always these blue tints in there.
Interesting. I've never noticed that. I got to look at the commercials and kind of
but
dissect it myself.
Right. But so the story with Pfizer is what was reported was about 60 deaths of people who had taken Viagra. And it looked like there was an association with a long-acting nitroglycerin, form of nitroglycerin. It was just too much. The blood pressure was bottoming out with both of these. And instead of scrapping Viagra or trying to improve it, Pfizer had an all-hands-on-deck campaign with doctors, and they wrote guidelines and position papers, and we had working groups and said, listen, we just need to educate our patients that they just can't take Viagra with this long-acting nitrate and what have you. And we're like 60 deaths, and it's a drug. Essentially, it's a sex drug. This thing's not coming off the market. Now, if it was 60 deaths with an antibiotic, it's gone, right? But it was interesting, the valuation there. And Pfizer was able to, in a sense, educate people out of this and this situation and remain on the market. And to their credit, it enabled other companies to come in to make cleaner drugs. Like probably the best drug right now is tadalafil, which is Cialis.
So how did FDA approve Viagra if they had 60 deaths during the clinical trials?
No, it was 60 deaths post-marketing.
No, post.
Oh, post.
Yeah. So it clearly improved sexual performance and what have you. There's no doubt about it. And then it allowed the entry of these other drugs in, and the sex drugs of Cialis, for instance, they do work. And they actually have a cardiovascular application, which is lowering pressures in the pulmonary artery circuit. So we use it for pulmonary hypertension. And the Cialis, I prescribe it frequently at a very, very low dose, actually helps improve urinary flow in men whose prostates are enlarged. So it's a proof of that.
Did you enjoy that clip? Click over here to watch the full episode and click over here to subscribe to the WiseNuts podcast YouTube channel.